Nice.
I mean, it was a great time to give back to my community that for generations had given to me.
There's a lot of jobs out there. This is more of a calling, more of something we get to do.
I didn't know when I got into this how hard this was.
Welcome to Our Purpose Podcast, the podcast where the stories from skilled nursing and long-term care come to life. I'm your host, Kip Kruger, a voice shaped by experience inside the industry and a belief that every person has a purpose and their story is worth telling.
Amen.
Today, we have our co-host and our CEO of Principal Health Systems, Mr. James Dieter.
Happy to be here.
Glad you're here. Very glad you're here.
Thank you, Kip.
And the person who I call the light of the world, our COO of Principal Health Systems, Mr. Chris Light.
Awesome. Thanks, Kip.
Glad to be here.
Definitely
Glad
the
you're.
light of our life.
He is. It's light. It's pretty bright in here too. I like it. And we have a special guest, a very special guest, a dear friend of mine, a fellow administrator, and the person that I would call the best chicken farmer in America,
Oh, wow.
Mr. Eric Wood.
Thank you, sir.
Glad to see you.
Yeah.
You look
Glad to be
great.
here.
You look great, by the way.
Hey, we can't move past that. The best chicken farmer. Let's go straight in.
Let's talk chicken. We're going to talk chickens first.
Sure, why not?
I like it. Let's do it. Talk to me about some chickens.
We do egg-laying chickens, some, 10, 12.
Is this a family
Family
thing?
thing.
Family
thing.
Okay.
10 or 12. I don't know if that makes us the world's best.
I think so.
We have 10 or 12.
Yeah.
But we also raise about 250 show chickens that go to like
Wow.
State Fair, Houston,
Show
county
chicken.
show.
I can see, I can picture a show cow or a show sheep.
Chicken
What
just
is
looks like a chicken, big fat chicken.
So it's like you looking for the biggest chicken
Biggest
breast?
Chicken breast.
It's meat. It's meat.
It's a meat
Okay.
show.
Meat show.
So we do about 250 a year, all usually in the spring.
It's a big operation.
Wow.
And he's got his
But
boots
they
on today
live-
too.
They
So
live the life,
Yeah.
They live in air condition and heat. And
It's like Wagyu chicken.
Wagyu chicken.
yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's living. They live in 400 square feet.
Wow. Per chicken?
No, for the whole breed.
The Holiday Inn at his house.
42 days from little chick to show, and then on 43 they go to the freezer. So
Yeah. Right in the middle of Kobe, Texas.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Mhm.
So 40, you said 42, 43 days?
42 days. Yeah, 42 days.
Are you just pumping them full of feed?
Good feed, clean water,
That's
the right temperature.
Very nice.
That's it.
How do
So
we,
it's all on the meat, not on what the bird looks like.
They don't care what it looks like.
just all muscle
Mhm.
or all, I guess, meat?
Mhm.
Is muscle meat?
It is in my house.
Kip, do you eat meat, Kip?
I've never eaten one of Eric's chickens.
No?
I should have brought you some today.
That'd have been good.
He needs you.
I need that.
More meals.
I need to
So we put about
beef up a little bit.
800 pounds of chicken in the freezer every year
Holy
Damn.
cow.
at our house
Do you
Nice.
ever go to the grocery store?
for other things, not meat.
You got it.
Deer meat, chicken meat. That's it.
Fantastic. It's got to be super nutritious for you.
It's the way we live. We like it.
That's why he looks so good.
That's why I look so good. That's why I still got,
That's right.
a
That's why
good look at
skin is
47.
It's-
glowy.
Skin
Yeah.
looks good.
Yeah.
All right.
Former administrator. Where are you at now?
No, I am an administrator.
Yeah, where are you at? Former. Oh, did I say former?
I'm not former.
Today's the day for me. We're working there.
I've got a purpose.
You have a purpose. Tell us about your purpose.
I'm at Willow Creek Lodge in Tomball.
Yeah.
I've been there about 18 months now. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Transition. That's pretty recent. 18 months.
18 months. I've been an administrator for about 10 and a half years.
Good.
I was at my hometown of Livingston for nine and a half. Thankful for that time there to take care of people that poured into me, that took care of me as a kid, took care of my family. So that was a great time for me to take care of my grandparents, my wife's grandparents, my Sunday school teacher, my teachers.
Oh my God.
They're-
Nice.
I mean, it was a great time to give back to my community that for generations had given to me. And so
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. Take care of my best friend's grandparents. It was an interesting thing for me that most of the people that admitted to the facility already had my phone number.
Wow.
So it was a huge huge burden.
Yeah.
And responsibility.
I can imagine.
One, I was honored if they would trust me with their loved ones. But two, it was a huge burden to know that they trusted me. So yeah, it was a big deal.
That's heavy, and also just an absolute blessing to care for those people.
I was very thankful for that.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. It was a big deal.
We talk a lot about when we talk about responsibility, it's like we get to do this, right? I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there. This is more of a calling. It's more of something we get to do, get to take on that responsibility. It's a pleasure.
I was very thankful to take care of the people that had done so much for me. But then after 9.5 years, it just felt like it was time to do something different. We'd taken that building from 2-star to 5-star. Had taken it from grown census up until COVID, and then we kind of had that COVID thing. So, so census wasn't so swell when we left, but was just looking for something different. Maybe I had talked to Cross a couple times. If you rewind back to the beginning of my long-term care career, I was in residential real estate doing rent property with my family. Really had done it for 15 years, really comfortable in it. But there were some things that inside our family business it was time for me to move on. And after a couple of years of just kind of thinking and praying on that, and ended up around a campfire with a couple of guys that were in that business. And they said, "Hey, what do you think?" And went home over Thanksgiving break and thought about it, and went back and visited a couple of times at the nursing home, which in retrospect was not enough to get the full feel of it. Talked to my wife. She says, "Do whatever you think's right." Had a long talk with my grandparents, and then kind of jumped off in it. Left the business I'd been in for 15 years and had ownership in, to go jobless for 9 months or 8 months while we did this thing with a family of 6. And
Wow.
Yeah. And then fast forward to today, and I work for that guy I sat around the campfire with.
Nice.
So that's full circle.
What a story.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've been saving that one.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So well, I know Cross Healthcare has a building in Kerrville.
There's 2 in Kerrville.
2 in Kerrville. Were they affected?
They were not in great ways.
Okay.
Fully operational, just kind of struggling with the internet.
Yeah.
After that stuff. And so, there were families that worked there that had some things happen.
Yeah.
We tried to support them however we can. We're still going to keep supporting them however we can. But thankfully the building and the people that live there and the people that work there were mostly unaffected. So, yeah.
That's good to hear. That was such a tragedy with the flooding.
Yeah.
When internet goes down in a building, like for us, that would be like DEFCON.
It's pretty tough.
What does that look like in a nursing home?
So in a short-term way, like ours went out 2 or 3 weeks ago, with no hopes of coming back for a day or 2.
Mm-hmm.
You scramble. The biggest deals are your med pass. You can still take care of people, but do you know which pills are there going to the right spots and treatments and stuff? And so you can always backdate any kind of important documentation.
Right.
But at that point, the receptionist says, "I'll go to Walmart." And so she went and bought 2 hotspots, and she went and picked them up, got some service, came back, hooked them up. In Kerrville, that's not an option because cell service was out.
Right. All right.
So your hope is to print out your Mars and TARS and go as best you can with some paper copies.
There you go.
It would not be the way you would want to do it. That's not the way you draw it up.
I can imagine.
But that is what it is.
Yeah.
I love the story that you told about the campfire, about just coming full circle, and life coming full circle. What's the transition? Because we talk about long-term care administrator turnover quite often, and we read it's about 1.5 years probably at the most. But you stayed there for
9.5.
9.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then talk to me about the transition and how difficult that was to leave all of your people, kind of all your people, right? Your home.
Here's my home.
And you also had a conversation with your grandparents who you also took care of there. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Both of them. 3 of them. 3 of my 4.
Talk about that. Like how
my wife's grandparent.
How was that? That's got to be a hard transition and a hard decision to make.
It was. It was and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was time. It was time to move. It was. I think when you talk about administrator turnover, I think I didn't know when I got into this how hard this was.
Yeah.
What specifically, like if you could say one or two things is hard?
It's all hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we talk about in our morning meeting, I said, look, the world's against us, really. By the time you get regulatory, families that have unreasonable expectations, residents that have struggles of their own that you're trying to help them through, staffing struggles, financial struggles, it just adds up to a huge burden.
Yeah.
I didn't know when I said, hey, I'm not going to do this thing anymore and I'm going to do this other thing. I didn't know that. It goes back to I spent 6-8 hours before I decided to change careers.
Yeah.
Probably I should have spent 6 or 8 weeks, 6 or 8 months, and I spent 6 or 8 hours.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was in a good headspace, and I thought that it was the right thing to do.
I think those things turnover and those really hard
struggles.
Yeah.
How difficult is for me as an administrator being on call 24/7 and never being able to shut it off was probably the hardest thing for me. Is that
I would agree with that. And I think just transparently, at my last building, everybody had my number before they got there.
Yeah.
And so I was on call at the grocery store, at my kids' soccer games, at church. It was a toll, a job I was willing to do, but it was definitely difficult. At my new building, I do not give my number out the way I did before.
Yeah.
It is better for me to have a little bit of space.
Sure.
You're still on call with all your employees.
Yeah.
I would also say that I take one vacation a year where I do not have cell service.
Good.
And I have people that I trust, and on both above and below, that will take care of the things that need to be taken care of.
But don't you feel like that empowers people to
Absolutely.
to do the job that you hired them to do?
Absolutely. It allows them space to grow.
Right.
And handle and to be trusted means a lot. And so, but in that week that I take no cell service, it does feel like 2 or 3 weeks long.
Yeah.
It is a great refresher. So, you've been there. You guys know what it's like. And so, I do take that week.
I think I struggle with that as an administrator, being able to give people the ability to grow. And by that, I mean, I was involved maybe a little bit too much. And I think that you can even look at it as an entrepreneurial spirit and look at it, what you've men have went through. What do you all think? What's the best way? What's the best recipe? Is there a recipe for promoting other people to do the job that you want them to do the best job that they can? Like what type of experiences and tools do you use to encourage others?
Yeah, I think it starts with trust, right? So if someone believes that you have their best interests in mind and that you have a mutual trust, then they're willing to go further than they're comfortable. And they know that if they make that mistake, that you're not going to be punitive on them, right? They're going to actually say, it's going to be a learning experience. You're going to learn from it. And you're going to get further. And if you can, I think one of the hardest parts about leadership for me has been just not doing, to your point. It's not just when I'm on vacation, but just have sat back and said, this is typically when I would go and lead this group or do this thing, and to sit back and allow other people to take that role. And then having that trust where they feel, well, if I screw this up, James isn't going to come in and tear my head off.
Yeah.
Which is probably not my nature. I feel like I do want to tear the head off, right? But it's like I just sit back and it's okay. It's okay. And to allow people, and we've seen just tremendous growth in our leadership team over the years from, I think, just having that good culture of trust and expectations that are real.
Yeah.
So that's a big piece for me. So it starts with trust.
I've been listening to a book, and the guy says, promote people before they're ready. If you promote the right people, if they care, if their heart's in the right place, and you trust them, promote them before they're ready and let them grow into it.
They'll grow into it. Yeah, I like that.
What type of leadership things are you doing inside of your community? I know your people respect you quite a bit.
I do believe in letting our people take their things, take ownership, and just involve me when I need to be involved.
Yeah.
I think there are administrators that want to know everything. I don't. I don't need to know it. I'm not going to be good at it all.
Do you think that's a sense of maturity?
I don't know. I think some of it's born out of they've been burned before.
Yeah.
I think some of that's that. But I don't. I tell my group, I need to know 5% of what you're doing. If I know 5%, then I'm good. I'm not going to be the best medical records person. I'm not going to be the best maintenance guy. I'm not going to be the best dietary manager. You have to do it. I'm here to help, support. I need to know 5%. That way, in case you're failing or you need something that I need to step in and help with. But if I'm in all of it, I'm not going to do any of it very well.
Yeah.
So that's my deal. I feel like I'm bad at a lot of stuff. I'm bad at a lot.
Join the club.
Yeah. Well, there'll be the two of us on this side that are bad at everything, and the two of the others that are handsome and good at everything.
Thanks.
We'll take that.
Yeah. I'll take that.
I'm bad at a lot of things, but I think I'm pretty good at finding people to surround myself with that care about people, that I can trust to do the right thing as best they know how, and allowing them the space to grow, and in those mistakes grow, and in those wins grow, and until they become good leaders of the people that they're around. So
just from like an actual like nuts and bolts standpoint, like how many direct reports do you have?
15-ish.
15. And then what does like meeting cadence look like with your direct reports?
Every morning we go 9:30.
Okay.
It's usually pretty fast paced. If you add up what that meeting costs per person.
Yeah.
We
do that sometimes too.
Yeah. It's scary.
It's expensive.
Yeah. If you add up that they're already busy, it needs to be stuff that all 15 or 20 people need to know. It needs to be the high level things. They need to know that I care about them. They need to know that I love them. They need to know that I trust them. They need to know I'm on their side. And it's pretty fast paced. In 15 minutes, hopefully we're out.
Okay.
So maybe it's 20, but we try to move pretty quick.
What items do you cover during that? What are you've been an administrator for 12 years, 13 years? 10, 12. What are the most important things that you've covered inside that meeting?
So we cover census really quick.
Yep.
The people that have come and gone, the people that are maybe coming.
Yeah.
Are their rooms ready? Are we ready for them? Is there anything that's, hindering their getting here? What hurdles do we have there? Quickly do whatever clinical things have happened overnight, falls, behaviors, major med changes, family things, whatever those things are. And we try to keep that quick and fast paced, and there may be a thing where she says, hey, this thing happened. I need to get with you and you after this. Yeah. And we'll go over it deeper. If it's a thing that, that has other people, but we try to keep that meeting to value for all involved.
Yeah.
And then we go over the assessments that we need to get done for the day. That's a 15-second deal. We go over the meetings for the day and the week. So everybody's got their stuff ready for those. And then we just we'll talk a little bit about the nature of the day or the week, and maybe send them off with some good stuff. And that's it.
Yeah.
Do you do any like one-on-ones with direct reports?
Pretty much every day.
Okay.
Pretty much every day. I don't know that I hit everyone every day.
Yeah.
I'm going to see them a couple of times, 2 or 3 times a week. Check in.
Are they scheduled, or do you just kind of impromptu one-on-ones?
Yeah. Me to them.
Yeah.
Me meet them where they're at.
Yep.
I like that.
How's your day going? How's your week going?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need me to do? What hurdles do you have?
Yeah.
That's kind of the schedule on those.
I have a curiosity. So when I look at, Chris manages the largest team at Principal as our chief operating officer, and he manages utilizing kind of a technology back end, and we have a lot of KPIs that we look at to determine key performance indicators. to determine success. So we have, measurements, and we effectively say, hey, this is what we consider success and this is what we consider failure. I'd be interested in your business, and probably you'd comment on just kind of how you do it. I'd like to hear more about how you do it, but I would also be interested just from your standpoint, how you manage or how you would even measure success as opposed to failure. And maybe you don't call it a KPI, but you probably have some things that you say, hey, this is our goal. We're trying to stay under this number, or we want to go over this number, and what that looks like.
Every department's different. Medical records is 100% compliance. Anything less than that, it's probably not hitting the mark.
Yeah.
On the marketing side, there's census goals, that you say, hey, we want to have this many skilled, we want to have this many total. And some of those, just transparently, you can't change.
Yeah.
That
was my next question, was just about I'd love to hear it. I think that anyone listening wants to know, like, we all want to learn and we all want to grow from these conversations. And what are the actionable, if we can identify maybe what you are measuring or what you're looking to do, and then say, like, what is the most actionable step that you are taking in order to improve that key performance indicator or that hit that goal? What are you doing that you feel like, hey, you know what, if everybody did this, they'd be better off?
Oh, what do we do specifically?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I were to say the one thing that I do okay, but I've got some people on my team that do really fantastic, is hire the right people.
Yeah.
I think if you do that, I think that's the one thing that I feel like.
Sure.
I had somebody on my old team that I knew a little bit, acquainted with. She ended up being in charge of dietary. She had never done it, but I knew who she was. Hired her for dietary. A couple years later, housekeeping supervisor leaves. She retired. She said, I want to do housekeeping. And I said, okay, but you do dietary now. She said, I want to do both. That's not common. She took both. She took both and did fantastic. Best I've ever seen. Get to Willow Creek. 9 years later, HR dumps out on day one. I never met her. She just didn't like it. Okay. Day one, she doesn't show. And I talked to her via text a lot. Okay. I talked to her via text a lot before I got there. I guess via text, I'm not a good. It didn't set well. Day one, she's out. Day one, the night of day one, I call Leslie and I said, hey, my HR spot's open. I want you to come over. And she's like, I don't know anything about HR. I said, you'll be fine.
This is the girl who's doing dietary and maintenance.
Correct. Yeah. Dietary and housekeeping.
Dietary to housekeeping. Wow.
And I said, you'll be great. And she said, I don't know about this. They tried to keep her. They tried to offer her a million things. She says, I still want to go do this thing. She came with me to do HR. She's been fantastic. She interviews every single soul that comes in our building, no matter the department, because she knows people that care, and she knows people that are going to work out. And I think that's an edge.
Yeah.
That's an absolute 100%. Talent.
Yep.
She's fantastic.
As an administrator, I will go on record, I was the most terrible person about interviewing.
Interviewing is one of the hardest things to do, in my opinion. Yeah. It's like you have someone I'm generalizing here, but you have someone presenting them at their absolute perfect selves, right? Like
they come in their Sunday best.
Yeah. Yep. Every time.
Show up 5 minutes before the interview, and then work starts and you're like, I show up at time. It's just naturally, it's almost like dating, right? Like you go out of your way to be the absolute perfect version. It's very
I really think there's two steps. There's two parts to your story you just told, right? So there's the when you have a superstar, you have to go out and recognize that really quickly. And those people can play a lot of positions. It reminds me a lot. There's a story I was reading, I think it's called Relentless by Tim Grover. And he was the strength coach for Kobe and Jordan. And there's a story about when Michael Jordan was coming out of college, and they were talking about, everybody knew, I think it was Akeem Olajuwon was going to go number one in the draft. And number two, they didn't know who they were going to pick. And the coach calls the Olympic coach. And he's like, hey, who should I pick for the second pick? He goes, pick Michael Jordan. Guy's a superstar. And he goes, oh, well, we need a forward. He's like, put him in forward. It's like, I don't care. Yeah. Like, put him any position on the court. It's Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Like, that's your pick. And I feel like that's something we've done really well here
That's a good
is
point.
figured out, we have people that have just gone all over this organization, had tremendous success because they're superstars. They can play any position, and that's what you have to be able. But figuring out how to, finding the person that can find those people, that's a huge benefit. And I mean, I think every organization, there's lots of books about this, getting the right person on the bus. You got to find the right people in the organization. So if you're doing that well, it all starts there.
It does start there. And I'm just going to tell the rest of Leslie's story. I was on vacation a couple of weeks ago. Me and my wife were talking. We're a lot of windshield time. And she comes up. And I realized that she's still destined for more.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, you need to go back and get your degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told her, I said, you can do my job better than me. Let's do whatever we got to do to get you there.
No way.
So,
Nice.
so she signed up for school and going to start in August by all accounts. And she's going to be fantastic.
Nice.
And you're her preceptor?
She's starting credit one.
Oh,
She's starting from scratch, but she sees the goal.
Yeah.
And she's ready to tackle
That's
it.
awesome.
what an absolute beautiful story, from dietary manager to housekeeping
It's going to be a great
to
story.
HR, all the
When
way.
it's all told. She's going to be a great story.
And you had a massive impact in that.
I had a part.
It's pretty cool.
I don't downplay it.
Do you all incentivize, I don't know, is there any type of tuition plans for folks like that in long-term care from what you know out there? It's something
not
that
that
we
I know.
talk about all
Not
the
that I
time.
know.
Yeah.
We're working on something to help her.
Cool.
I think you can't put a price tag on people like that.
No, no way.
And we're working on a way to help her get through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how that's going to look yet. But that's a person worth investing in.
Sure.
And so we're going to figure that out.
I think we have to get her on the podcast.
Oh, she would be.
Would she love it?
She would be super nervous.
Was
She does not. She doesn't think she's great yet. She doesn't see her own greatness yet.
Good for her. Got to meet her.
Sometimes that's really a good thing.
She's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Just thinking that.
She's a fantastic human.
That's awesome.
Cool.
You are lucky to have her.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree
Yeah,
with that. I would agree with that. I wouldn't. There's a couple people I work with that came with me.
Yeah.
That in a transition, you just have to have people around you that you trust. Thankfully, they were willing to come. It was right for them. It was right for the right time, the right opportunity. I'm thankful for those couple of people that came with me, because in that transition, having people you trust is everything. But those couple of people, I would take them anywhere to do anything. Land a man on the moon, sail around the world, work at a nursing home. I would take them anywhere.
That's cool. When you came into the nursing home that you're at now, was there any type of like a turnaround or anything like that? Or is it kind of just a smooth takeover? It was a mess.
It was a mess.
So like when you go look at a mess, which you obviously did, do you look at it in terms of like, all right, I need to move these 3 levers, or is it like I got 15 things, or like how do you kind of break it down and be like, okay, I need to compartmentalize this, work with a team, we got to move a lot of things here?
So after 9.5 years of being at one place, whether you would agree it was where it should have been, I thought it was where it's supposed to be.
Right.
It was what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
It had grown into what I wanted it to be. I get to the new place and I think I'd forgotten how hard that was.
Mm-hmm.
Walked in and said yes to this without ever walking in the building, because I knew who I was walking in with.
Yeah.
That was the big deal, was walking in with Cross.
Yeah.
Walking in with some people that I knew. And they said, hey, look, I think you're going to have a struggle here. It's kind of what we've identified. And then when we got there, everybody was surprised at how bad it was.
But Cross had to give you some sort of comfort in knowing that, hey, I may be walking into
I knew I had
something,
support.
yeah, something different.
Support. Yeah, support matters.
What does support look like to you? What did they show you?
Some patience.
Yeah.
While we work through the troubles, some encouragement.
Yeah.
Because as you move to one thing, for them to go, hey, we saw that. The tools, some of their time, some of their energy, some of their resources, those were good things. But when we got there, nursing was a mess.
What does mess mean? And don't share too much that you're not comfortable with, but like
assessments not being done.
Okay.
Were you using a lot of agency at that point? What
Zero
year,
agency.
What year was this?
This was 20.
22?
20. Well, it was 20. The end of 23, first of 24.
Yeah. Okay, so you're kind of out of the COVID agency era.
We didn't have agency.
You had consistency in the nursing staff then.
We were fully staffed for the most part, but in my opinion, they weren't the right people.
Mm-hmm.
We've done probably a 75% turnaround in nursing staff.
I was just going to ask you that.
Probably.
Yeah.
A lot in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
They just weren't the right fit for us, for what we wanted to do, for what we were trying to accomplish. I felt like a lot of our people were task oriented and not people oriented.
Yep.
That they were, they were hard workers,
mm-hmm.
but their customer service wasn't maybe there.
What does it mean to be people oriented? You said, you're like, don't be task oriented, be people oriented. What does that mean?
For what we do, I feel like if we hire people that care about people, we'll figure the rest of it out.
Yeah.
We can in-service you, we can train you, we can do all the things, but we got to care about people. And that aide is going to be in a room by themselves, dealing with tough situations, dealing with a hard thing by themselves, and they have to do the right thing. If it's a task-oriented person, that's going down a checklist, we may not get that right.
Yeah.
And you can't teach every situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're dealing with a vulnerable population with multiple things going on, but if they care about that person, they're going to figure it out.
Was it, I hope I get this name right. Was it Leslie?
Leslie?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So if she was to answer this question, what do you think she would say? Like, so when you're interviewing for task oriented versus people oriented, what are you looking for? Like, how do you?
She asked. I've been in some of those, and she says, "Why do you do what you do?
Yeah.
What do you like about your job?
Yeah.
What do you, why are you looking to change? All these things to try to hear. Do you have care? Do you have compassion? Do you love people?
Yeah.
Or is this a paycheck? Is this a job?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a task? Is this the way you're paying your bills?
Yeah.
Is this something that you've decided that you want to pour part of your life into?
Yeah.
I'm curious. I think I have a parallel here. So we talk a lot about time. So there's an expectation on the diagnostic side that we do our job as quickly as possible. And what we've been able to measure over time is we can do a job really, really quick, but the quality of that job goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we're talking about is when you have a task-oriented person, you can change sheets on a bed real quick with the patient.
You sure can.
In bed.
You can dump them out and put them on and stick them back in the bed.
I've seen it. So I worked a cardiovascular unit for a couple of years, and we had a lot of sensitive patients in there. This is more acute care hospital situation, but I saw some folks that could clean up a room and clean up people really quickly that were task oriented, and then you have patient oriented people. And it's a very, and they have a job to do. And I think that's kind of where we're looking at. It's like there's an art to this as well.
Correct.
You're not just trying to check the box and just change things and get your job done and check so we can get it done. It's you want to spend time with the patient, you want to take care of them.
We talk about PPDs a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You've got that PPD, you've got to meet but not exceed, but not all per patient day is the same.
Yeah.
That 3.1 or 3.0 is not the same depending on who those three people are.
Yeah.
Sure. Those 3 hours.
On that vein in this one of the things we speak to phlebotomists about a lot of times is like, if we're efficient, like for us, like, and I'm assuming it's fairly similar, but like you could say 90+% of the time what we do just happens and it's in the background and it's efficient and it goes. And we live on the small percentage of errors, mistakes, or special situations, right? And that's kind of how we live and die. But if you can be efficient on the 95%, you can go above and beyond on the 5%, right? So we talk about like, it's that mixture, that blend of like, hey, we want you to be efficient, polite, very polite, right? And get the job done. But when the opportunity presents itself to change someone's day, you do it every single time you do it. But you can't do that if you're not efficient on the other ones, because otherwise you
can't do that unless you
won't see anybody.
Right people.
Right.
You got to hire the right people that are willing to go above and beyond,
and then know
that margin,
that have the discernment to know when that time is.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we do get folks that are so personable, they're highly inefficient, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you get both ends of the spectrum.
So we talked about how difficult the administrator position is. So I'm going to ask it. I wanted to ask it earlier. Why do you do what you do?
I don't know. I really don't. I don't really know. One, I do it because I like taking care of people.
Yeah.
I really do. There's a reason I took care of the people in my hometown. I think there's that. The second thing is I like working with the people I work with. I feel like part of my job is to help them. I don't make anybody anything, to help them be their best person.
Yeah.
And I think one way is through the service that we do for other people, but one is through my service to them and try to help them be like Leslie.
Yeah.
Just help them be the person that they should be.
Do you think that you find your purpose doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I think getting around, and that's one of you also talked about, direct reports and checking in with people. That's really easy for me because I feel like that's part of my purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not a task for me. It's a easy thing for me to go around and say, how's your day? How's it going? How's the kids? How was your lunch? How was your break? How was your vacation?
Yeah. What
can I do to help you? Those are easy for me. There's other things that are tasks for me that are harder, that aren't natural, but that one's an easy one for me.
How many people's names do you know? First name, I won't even ask last name in your building.
Resident and?
Oh, it's bonus credit here. I wasn't even thinking residents. I was thinking team.
Probably know 95% of the residents.
Okay.
Good for you. And you only get that way by walking around.
Correct.
Being
they
involved.
don't come to my office.
Yeah.
They don't come to my office. So if they do, then we've got bigger issues.
Yeah.
So probably 95% of them, probably because of nights, it's going to be a little less on employees.
Yeah.
I don't, at my old building, and I was 3 minutes from it, I knew the night people. Being an hour, 75 miles from this one, I don't get in there at night as much.
Yeah.
It's a new priority for me that we're going to try to do that in the next year. But probably 75, 80%.
Yeah, that's a lot, really. And you probably have 150, 180
130.
team members, 130.
130.
Yeah.
But of the ones that are there during the day, I know them all.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's my job.
Yeah.
It's your purpose.
Yeah.
It's our purpose.
Yeah.
Can you give us, I always laugh. I have a couple stories. I go in and out of nursing homes very quickly, but I've had a couple funny run-ins with residents, probably because I'm under 40 and I'm male. But can you share just a funny story about a resident that, like, if you were at a dinner party or a campfire and you're someone who's not involved and you could tell something funny?
No.
Got too many.
Nope.
Can't make it.
I've got a good one. I've got a good one off air. happened last week.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to get off air and hear it.
Yeah.
Eric, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I knew you would be the perfect person to interview and sit on the podcast. It was wonderful hearing your story. It was wonderful hearing your experience. Thank you for sharing your purpose with us. Thank you for sharing what you've done to change long-term care. We've appreciated it. It's went by really fast today. So thank you for being who you are, and thanks for making a difference in long-term care.
Thank you guys for what you do.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Thank you.
Well, that was it. That wraps us up for another episode of Our Purpose Podcast. My name is Kip Kruger. I'm one of your hosts, James Dieter, Chris Light, and thank you to our special guest, Mr. Eric Wood. Have a great day.
See y'all.